What's up, guys? Before we get into all the fun, I want to talk about a couple things that helped me catch this fish. This happened to be my personal best largemouth on a public water in the state of Ohio. First thing I want to talk about is the type of jig I was using. It just happened to be one of our jigs, a Blue Rock Tackle Fury flipping jig. In the springtime, I like to do things a little different than a lot of people in the Midwest. A lot of people like to downsize their jigs because we fish for smaller fish in this area. My theory on the big half-ounce jig is you can manipulate it with different types of trailers. So if you're worried about a slow fall rate, you can put on a big, bulky, flappier trailer and it'll slow down that jig and keep it in the strike zone a little bit longer. That happened to be what I did this day. It was around April 10th and I was fishing for strictly pre-spawn fish and just targeting big fish. Now, as the weather warms a little bit, you can go to the big jig with a more streamlined beaver style trailer and you'll get that fast fall rate and get more of a reaction bite. Don't get me wrong, there is a time and place for a small finesse jig, but when you're fishing for pre-spawn bass, the big jig is the way to go in my opinion. When it comes to colors, I like to keep it simple. This color we call Army Green Pumpkin. It's just a blend of like pumpkin seed and green pumpkin, real natural. You like to stick with greens, browns, blacks, and blues. Keep it very simple when you're fishing in the spring. These fish have been wintering and they're hungry and they're ready to eat. And they're ready to eat something big. It goes back to the old saying, the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish when you're fishing pre-spawn. When it comes to tackle, when you're targeting these fish, I don't mess around. A lot of guys, manipulate your rod length based on your height. I use personally a 7'6" heavy action rod with 20-pound fluorocarbon and a 7.73 to 1 gear ratio reel. Basically because I like to have control of these big fish when you hook them in that cover and be able to get them out of there and get them in a boat. When it comes to areas in the early spring, a lot of these lakes don't have much grass yet, and a lot of lakes in Ohio basically don't have any grass. So you want to target main lake points going into shallow spawning pockets, and timber and rock and hard bottom are always going to be your key areas to catch these big females. The day I caught this fish, it was just a random Thursday afternoon. I cut out of work a little early because everything was right to catch a big one that day. So I went and hooked up the boat, ran to the closest public lake, and threw the boat in and got to fishing. I fished for about 2 hours, and it was about prime time for the early spring, about 2 in the afternoon when I caught this fish. I was just fishing down a main lake point, going into a pocket, and flipped up on a piece of hard cover, just a big log, and she throttled it. My jig started swimming off to the right, and when I set the hook, it didn't move, and I knew it was a big one. And she came to the top, and I quickly knew that it was a true giant, especially for me. It ended up being my personal best, 7 pounds 4 ounces on Ohio public waters, and it all goes back to the theory of just if you're hunting a big fish, it's hard to beat a tried and true jig, spinner bait, vibrating jig, things like that. I mean, they're always going to be great pre-spawn baits. But as I got her around the boat and got her in, I knew she was big, but I didn't know quite how big she was. And there are bigger fish to be caught, but it's a good one, and I'm proud of it. And I just wanted to share the story and maybe give you guys a couple pointers you never really thought of with the fall rate and worrying about maybe your jig falls too fast if it's too big and heavy or something simple like that. So if it can help any of you out, I consider this video a win, and I hope everybody has a great time on the water. If anybody has any other questions about this video on what we used or where to get it, it was a Blue Rock custom tackle jig. You can get them anytime at bluerocktackle.com. Also, we'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel, Blue Rock Fishing, and anything we used in this video we'll link down in the description below. Holy crap. Biggest bass of my life.